city. And we also buy a lot of our power from outside of the city. And we're going to be turning, so look ahead on your left side. That's the Empire State Building out ahead. We're going to talk about that when we go up the Hudson River later. We're going to switch now to the right side. The United Nations is ahead, and you're right about it, maybe a half a mile right on the shore. Look for a building, a rectangular building with a bright white marble side facing us and glass facing the river. Can you see that? Yeah, there it is, right at the shore. See that building just ahead of it, the tall, slender tower? That's an apartment. That's right now, that's the tallest apartment building in America, 1,400 feet high. And there are 80 apartments in it. One of them was just sold to J-Lo and A-Rod for $15 million. And there's the Empire State Building.
Not for long.
I got my microphone back. Thank you. Now on your right side, this is 14th Street where that power plant is. It's the widest point of Manhattan, 2.5 miles wide. The average width is 2 miles, and the length of the island is 13 miles. And the population of it is 1,600,000 people who live on Manhattan Island. That breaks down to 70,000 people per square mile. That's densely populated. That's just living there. On a business day, another million come into Manhattan from surrounding areas. Population goes way up. And this park you see on the right side along the shore, it goes for 2 miles to the Brooklyn Bridge. It's all built on landfill, on filled-in land that came to us from England during World War II. In England, the cities of London and Bristol, those cities were heavily bombed by the German Luftwaffe. And much of the rubble from those bombed out buildings was brought to American ships. We were sending supplies to the British, weapons, machinery. So the ships were empty and they needed weight to get back across the ocean. They actually filled them with rubble from bombed out buildings. Then they filled in the river with it and they created these parks. And you have a really good-sized piece of London and Bristol over here on the seaside of Manhattan Island. I was asked a couple of questions, just I'll make a quick reference to them now. One of them had to do with the attack on 9/11. I was asked what was the Circle Line doing on that day. We had up doing sightseeing, right? No, we weren't. The attack was early in the day, it was 9 o'clock. We don't see until 10. We only had 4 boats. We used our 4 boats to evacuate people from the Midtown Manhattan area. Well, you guys, we managed to evacuate 30,000 people from that pier that day. We did very well. We had accommodations from the federal government and the city and the state for our efforts on that day. Another question had to do with the airplane that came splashing down the Hudson River. How many people heard of something called the Miracle on the Hudson? Have you heard of it? I'm curious. I see the people there, it's okay. For those who haven't, here's the story of the Miracle on the Hudson. It happened on January 15, 2009, 10 years ago. There was a big jet airplane took off from LaGuardia Airport in Queens, heading to Charlotte, North Carolina. They had 155 people aboard. And they were only airborne about 8 minutes or so, and they threw a whole flock of geese into the engines, and the plane slowed down. They could not get it started. They could not coast back to an airport either. So the captain decided we're going to ditch his plane. We're going to ditch it in the Hudson River. His name Captain Sullivan. We call him Sullivan. And that's exactly what he did. He ditched it in the Hudson River. He ditched it 2 piers north of our Circle Line. He hit the water at 150 miles an hour. And then everybody on that plane got out onto the wings of it. Try to picture this. The middle of winter, a big jet plane in the middle of the Hudson River, and 155 people on the wings of it, up to their knees in water. And it was 38 degrees. that captain became a real hero. Captain Sullenberger, his name. Sully. They made a movie about it, too, a movie called Sully. Yeah, and Tom Hanks, is that the actor name? Played the part of Sully. Anyway, I'll point out the site where the plane came down when we're ready to dock our boat. Yeah. Another question I would ask was, can I recommend a restaurant for dinner tonight? I can recommend restaurants. And you know why? There's so many of them in Europe. In this city, there are 25,000 restaurants in Paris. Yeah, 25,000. Now, I've only eaten at 23,000 of those restaurants. I can't give you another rate. I recommend this though, if you want something after the boat ride. You might go over to 9th Avenue, which is 3 blocks away from us. And between 42nd Street and 52nd on 9th Avenue, there are at least 100 restaurants in that one 10-block area. I'm sure you'll find something to your liking there. It's a neighborhood called Hill's Kitchen. Used to have a bad reputation, not anymore. It's a place you go for good food, moderate prices, 9th Avenue, 42nd and 52nd. Yeah, and I was asked specifically if I could recommend an Italian restaurant. I'm going to tell you about an Italian restaurant. I'm not recommending it. I want to tell you about it though, because it's a little bit different from the usual ones. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Carmine's. It's in the Theater District, Carmine. It's Italian, it's moderately priced, it's good food. What makes it different is family style. Now, if you're visiting it, family style in Manhattan means this. Let's say you go there with 6 people. Do not order food for 6 people. Only order food for 3 people. Because they're going to bring you enough food for 10 people. Really, they just keep bringing food to your table. It's unbelievable. You cannot eat it all. You can't. So you take it home with you. But they bring you so much food, you can't even take it home with you. Too much food to carry. You actually need luggage to get that food home. And that's how they make their money. They sell you the luggage. Come on, they don't sell luggage at Conference. But if you want to go there, it's on 44th between Broadway and 8th Avenue. And don't order for everybody. Order about half. The waiters will tell you that. 24th between Broadway and 8th. And so many, I'm always asked about Irish pubs in Manhattan. There are a great many Irish pubs. There's one really close to the Circle Line. It's called the Landmark. It's only 4 blocks away from us, 46 and 11. And I like the Landmark because you get like things. Like they have great hamburgers, they have bangers and mash, they have shepherd's pie, things like that. Good line of beers too. I think they might even make their own beer. The Landmark, 46 and 11th Avenue. Not a bad one in the Manhattan. Manhattan gets its name, Manhattan, from the Native Americans, the Indians. I'm not sure the tribe, I think it might have been the Indians. They named it Manhattan. Manhattan means island of village. Well, we don't see any hills in this program. They're all up at the north end of the island. We don't know what that one is. But it's quite beautiful. It's pretty up there. So anyway, the Indians named it Manhattan. Later became Manhattan. It's an old Indian term. New York City is frequently called the Big Apple. No, the Big Apple is not an old Indian expression. Big Apple. That got started by jazz musicians in the 1940s. When they were going to play in New York, they said playing the Big Apple. The connection is that there are many apples upon an apple tree, as there are many cities within America. Those jazz people who play in New York City, they have to play the big city of this nation, or the big apple on the tree. You know, the big town, the big city, the big apple. Let's go with the right side. The South Street Seaport is coming up on our right. This is where the Clipper ships are. And it's a small section they've restored it. And in the old buildings, they put in museums and restaurants in there. Or an old sailing vessel, restored them. And this is a big new pier that they put up over here. They haven't finished it yet. But it's big, and it blocks our whole view of the seaport. But once you get past that pier, you're going to see an old sailing vessel that's been restored. It's a 100-year-old vessel called the Waiver Tree. It's just a hedge. And It's open to the public, so here it is coming up. On the right side. Now, you see the masts on that ship? They rise 17 stories high. And when that ship was sailing in her day, one of the crew members climbed up that main mast during a hurricane, and he had a camera. He took a movie of the hurricane from up that mast. And if you visit that ship, they show you the movie that they made. Yeah, that's on your right. And ahead of it, the green building is ahead. That's an office building, but it's a movie location too. A movie called The Devil's Advocate. If you saw that, Al Pacino played the devil. That's where his office was. That building. I'll tell you about restaurants before I mentioned it or not, but right across the street from the Circle Line, Pier 81, there's a lobster, the New York Lobster Company. And it's a boat, and they take you out for a little ride. It's the largest lobster shack floating in the New York area. Now, all these little blue and white boats over your right shoulder, they're all fast ferries. I think it's about 35 or maybe 40 in the operating in the New York Harbor. Also on your right side, there's a heliport coming up over here. And the helicopter, there's one sitting on the end of it. Usually we see a lot of activity over here. There's nothing going on today, though. This is the downtown heliport. They do sightseeing by helicopter, and they go to different cities. advertising. Ted? That's somebody new around this harbor. of the Norwegian going. Big, beautiful cruise ship on the way out to sea. There's a golf driving range. You can see the golfers in the back there. All of them trying to break my record. Never going to happen. By the way, that pier, that's the pier where the Titanic was supposed to dock 107 years ago. There's the Empire State Building inland on your right side. Take a view of it. That was the tallest building in the world for many years, 102 floors. And the tower on the top below it, there's an observation deck on the 86th floor. You go outside or inside of that observation deck. And they're open late. They're open until 2 o'clock in the morning. If you've ever seen a movie called Sleepless in Seattle, the last scene for the movie took place at that observation deck. Another movie called In a Fear to Remember, last scene took place there. King Kong, right? That's where King Kong met his demise. Twice, Kong brought it twice. Once in the original, once in the remake. It's on 34th and 5th Avenue. There's the frying pan on your right side. That's a restaurant. And the other boat used to be a fire boat, and somebody owns it now. I don't know why they painted it that way, but it certainly is unusual. Now here is that city that they're building on top of the railroad freight cars. Yeah. And here's that one building, amidst all these really tall skyscrapers. The small one, I don't know if I mentioned it before or not. See, it's right over. It's an observation deck. There's nothing but stairs. 2,500 steps over there. So you make it up to the top. I don't see anybody up at the top right now, but anyway, if you can make it up there, you can look out over the river, see the boats going by, or look down on a park, which is pretty nice. There's an option. And they're even extending it. You can actually play 15 football games out there simultaneously on regulation-sized fields like that. We're going to be docking pretty soon. There are a couple of announcements I have to make. One of them has to do with your safety. The Coast Guard wants everybody to be seated when the boat is docking. They want everybody in a seat. I'll let you know when it's time to get yourself a seat. The reason for that is because 2 years ago, one of those little fast ferries was docking, and they couldn't stop that boat, and they hit the pier. Everybody on the staircase ended up in the hospital. 35 people were sent to hospitals, and the other people were standing around. They ended up in their bags. The Coast Guard doesn't want that to happen again, and so they want everybody to be seated. I'll let you know when it's time to do that. I also want to give you some information about bus service. You get a couple of buses right out in front. The 42nd Street Crosstown bus, M42. They'll go right across from Manhattan on 42nd Street. They'll pass 9th Avenue, all those restaurants on it. And they'll go all the way over to the UN. They'll pass Times Square too. M42. And you can also get the 50th Street Crosstown bus in front of up here, M50. They'll go up to 50th Street, then they'll go east on 50th. So what's on 50th Street? Rockefeller Center. Radio City questions, feel free to ask. And I want to take a moment to say thanks to those of you who are visiting New York. We certainly hope you have a good time in the city. There's so much to see and do you need time. I'd say you need about a year. Oh, I want to mention, you see the Intrepid on your left side? That's where the plane came down. Just behind it in the middle of the river. That's where Captain Sullenberger brought his plane down. And then he floated downriver a little bit. And we had one boat out that day, and we participated in the rescue. And we brought underwater divers out to the plane, and they went into the water, into the plane, made sure everybody was off and safe. And that's the miracle on the Hudson. And I was saying to you before I got into that, that we want to thank you for you folks not from New York. And you New Yorkers here, we want to thank you guys for taking the ride. And if you enjoyed it, tell your friends about it. Because word of mouth is important. Tell your friends. Of course, if you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Your friends, let them find out for themselves. I'll let them go through good and put up with. I seriously hope you do it. And now's the time everybody should be in a seat. Please find yourselves a seat if you're standing, because we don't want anybody going to the hospital because they fell down the stairs or something like that. Find yourself a seat, please. And I'll see you guys down at the gangway. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks very much. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. You sound like my family back there cheering me on.
Well, last time you made me wet. Like half an hour.
I'll let you know when it is for a few minutes.
昔の空母が博物館になってます。